God needs it, I'ma meet him. I got babies, so I clothe them and I feed them. I got babies, living angels, they're no demons. I got babies, you meet God if you mistreat them. Play no games, no way. 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 Got me paid for sure. Rapid work, those paid year to year, every year. You know it. Got no TikTok, not a flash, it's everlasting. I don't rock none, if I see you busters have them. I'm athletic, I wear track pants, never matching. I'm a baller, watch me Euro to the basket. Play no games, no way. 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 No way. No way. No way. No way. Really been going back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Like the neighborhood warriors. I don't miss, I don't play none, I don't diss, I don't say none. I go swish, that's an A1. I stay with no A1. Tell the chef, I said thanks, tell the tell I'm in the bank. Tell my mom I'm living good, tell my kids don't stress a thing. I go back to back on the drops, drop a lot and she pack the bag, she shot till we drop. I just wake up, I don't say nothing. I'm on go, I don't stay long. I've been up now, that's a case wine. I've been down too, like the bass drum. I got summer toys for the summer boy. I keep drummer boys in the summer boy. I keep making noise, I've been paranoid. This is God body, you can never void. I don't miss, I don't play none, I don't diss, I don't say none. I go swish, that's an A1. I stay with no A1. Tell the chef, I said thanks, tell the tell I'm in the bank. Tell my mom I'm living good, tell my kids don't stress a thing. I go back to back on the drops, drop a lot and she pack the bag, she shot till we drop. These beats are up and beat them, these bags you can't believe them. I never saw the country but the money comes from Sweden. I meet them then I leave them, I wake up fight my demons. I never grew my circle, I can't trust you with my freedom. Give me locked down, keep you locked out. Only when it's here, you look pop now. I get drops now, on the top now.
All right, here we go. Welcome to the show. I have no idea. I thought I had just instrumental music playing here, and somehow there's this is clearly not instrumental, and I can't even turn it down. That's weird. Anyway, how you doing today? I am awake, on time, and happy. Cause I'm happy to get along and make you feel like a room without a roof. Doesn't fit this music. Anyway, today we're going to talk about racism, everyone's favorite subject, and some First Amendment stuff and media stuff, things that we like in this country. I'll just turn that music off now. The First Amendment and freedom of speech and how our media works, and it's kind of a theme today. So it's First Amendment Day, Wednesday, Hump Day on the Morning Night Live. Johnny, play the intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only P-Dog Knight.
Yeah, that's me. trying to set my stuff's all messed up here. What the hell's going on? All right, let's stop the music. And I look gray. What the hell happened to my setup? My computer must have restarted. There must have been an update on my computer, because every time I get an update on my computer, things get weird. And it's weird. Also, what's weird is also my monitor's on the wrong spot. So there's that. Do I look gray over here too? Yeah, I kind of do. Let me fix that. What the hell's going on here? All right, we're going to fix my grayness. Oh, no, I didn't want to deactivate. I don't want to activate. Let's configure video. We'll figure this out. I'm smarter than I look. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as P-Dog Night on the internet. And welcome back to the P-Dog Night channel, where I look really, really, really washed out, and I just can't figure out why. So let's see if we can fix that. There we go. Now I'm starting to look normal. It's a little saturation of the color there. Yeah. And you can see you can read the Disneyland on my shirt. In fact, we'll just sharpen it up so you can really read the Disneyland on my shirt. Oh, ugh, I don't know if I like that. Anyway, how y'all doing today? It's hump day. A lot of times on hump day, I talk about media and First Amendment stuff. Like, Tuesday is Twitter Tuesday, and then this day. And then, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's what I have mostly in the articles that I pulled up. But I also the funny thing is there's a lot of people talking about this bill introduced by Sheila Jackson Lee, the Republican from Texas. I think she's from the Houston area. And she kind of made a living basically, her living is talking about race stuff and complaining about race stuff. And there's certain things you can complain about race stuff. There's stuff that you just like, aren't you over that yet? Are you just trying to, what are you trying to do? I don't get it. So we'll get into that. Got a few articles about the president. Got a few articles about the media. Brian Stelter's over at Davos. The Harvard, I wouldn't call him a professor, the guest lecturer at Harvard, Brian Stelter, is over in Davos, and we're just learning a whole lot about these dummies. Anyway, what did I say? I said she's a Democrat, right? I said Democrat, didn't I? Democrat from Houston. What did I say? Did I say she was a Republican? Oh, Democrat from New York who moved to Houston. Okay. I don't know. She's a piece of work, I tell you that. Anyway, let's say good morning to everybody, and we'll get into the show. I feel refreshed and good. I got a clean shave, and everything's good. Anyway, first the chat over. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell's going on here? Everything's messed up. I hate when my computer resets. God. You get an update, and then it resets in the middle of the night, and you're not ready for it. First in the chat today over on Rumble is Avocados Diabli. Gets the bell. Whoa. Not the hell, not that. There we go. Also, good morning, Septus Wolf. Javanus Minehouse. Furry Kitten. Simon Wolfwood. Javanus Minehouse is Hig in disguise, I know. Gotta get all my criticism. Wait a minute, what's this? Get all my criticism P-Dog in while the getting is good before he is a hate crime or some such nonsense. Yeah, yeah. That's a good thing for me. Like criticizing minorities could become a hate crime. Okay, well, sort of. I mean, the bill. There's a lot of hype about the bill, and actually, this bill was introduced, I think, 6 months ago. But for whatever reason, it was getting hyped over the last couple of days. So I'm going to talk about it because I talk about stuff like this. Brian Stelter is in Davos reporting on the meeting to his wife. Oh, because she's the only one who pays attention to him? I don't know. No, there are, I didn't know this, but there are actually, there's some Brian Stelter stands out there. I had no idea. I was reading through because he was trending yesterday, and like about a third of the people talking about him were talking about him like he's God. He's a God of broadcasting and truth and light and all that shit. I'm like, Brian Stelter? That guy? Are you kidding me? I got to talk lower so I don't sound like Brian Stelter. Anyway, let's say good morning on the YouTube side. Avocados Diabli gets the bell there too, because he's the only one who gets notifications on time. Also, good morning to my favorite Canadian Jaeger pony. Also, hello, Tyrannus, Alexandrius, Tamer Lich, Tyre Alexander. Also, hi, Natasha Kayleen. Oh my goodness, how you doing? Also, over here is another one of my Canadian friends, Unacceptable Views, Black Hebrew Israelites here.
That's right.
Trippy Liberty, what's happening? Good morning also to Septus Wolf, Jesse Leon. Hig is on the YouTube side also, but he's in disguise over on Rumble. HP Lovecraft's here, Septus Wolf, Lord Stanhope, what's up? Good morning also to, is that everybody? It's kind of light here. There's Tex AG 007. Let's see, I already said Lord Stanhope. Jacob Pony, Uncle Roger will become a billionaire. Hiya. I don't know what that means. Simon Wolfwood, good morning also. And, Green Badger. What's up? Green Badger Outdoors is in the house. All right. Oh, Jesse Leon, and I got to scroll more. Look at this. There's even more people here. Well, they're just rolling in like crazy. Aaron Meredith and James PFP and anyway, and Mike Savage. Blarg. All right. So, good morning. Happy Hump Day. Do not scroll through the Hump Day tab on YouTube, or excuse me, on Twitter, because you'll see a bunch of butts and boobs and penises, and so don't do that. All right, let's just get into it right away. Now, why did I have this tab open? I don't know. Oh, that's the racist. So a couple things that were trending, at least in my trending stuff. Trans women was trending. And I don't know why. There's not, I don't think there's anyone in particular talking about trans women, except there was an interesting exchange. Oh, good Lord. When he was a man called Mark, he was locked up after threatening to kill the mother of his child. Today, she's a woman called Melissa and able to roam free at a shelter for domestic violence victims. Oh, I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to swear yet. I gotta hold it down for a few minutes. This is, oh my gosh, Mark, this is where trans women are trending. Hello, Shady Grin. This is where trans women are trending right here. This is one of the things. Apparently, so she's able to roam free at a shelter for female domestic violence victims. Wow, that's not good. I don't know. I have a problem with that. Just a good perfect time. I just got back from town. Oh, okay, cool. Anyway, it's not trending for any particular reason. There's just a bunch of different stories. Some people saying trans women are males and have the same pattern of offending as other males. This doesn't mean all trans women are sexual predators any more than all men are. It means that they are as likely to be as other men. So yes, this time is justified. I don't know what they're replying to. Anti-trans activists must know they're spouting the same arguments long deployed against gay people, would-be sexual predators, threats to children, defiers of the law of biology, etc. They just think it's time. This time it's justified. History will be the judge of that. Oh, that's Owen Jones. And he's that Jake jerk guy from England. Yeah, anyway. So I don't know why that's trending. And then also racism trending. And it just happens to be my thumbnail is up there in the racism tab because this is why you can't mess around with Twitter. All of a sudden, now at least she has clothes on. That's good. I'm just closing this because you never know what's going to happen. That particular one though, the message on that, the woman with the gun and the bikini, gun control is based in racism and is inherently sexist. Oh, I'm just saying. Lovely young lady in a bikini carrying a AR, looks like. Or no, that's an AK-47. Anyway, so of course racism is trending. Oh, yes, and that still people from like January 16th, Dina Turner, the evils of capitalism are as real as the evils of militarism and the evils of racism. And that's a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. Because, look, like I said, I honor Dr. King for the this fight for equality, but he had some interesting, very interesting views on capitalism and business stuff. And I think he would have been in the Bernie Sanders camp by the time if he had lived that long. But we still honor him for his fight against the struggle for civil rights, even though I think there's a whole lot of people that, because we focus that day on him, don't get enough credit. And I wish they would at least add the words National Civil Rights Day to that holiday they've added in January. So I talked about that the other day, though. Let's see. So it's sexist for a woman to hold a gun? No. Gun control. Gun control. Well, unless the person controlling the gun is a woman. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, so this is one of the things that was in the racism column. Washington Post columnist tweets the biggest cell phone in the history of cell phones. Well, I doubt it. I doubt if it's the biggest cell phone in the history of cell phones. But remember that the giant phallus statue that was is supposed to be honoring Dr. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King. Hello, Nomad. What's up?
Stop. Hammer time.
Well, this woman, I don't know, she a Washington Post columnist. She said her name is Karen Attila. Attia. I don't know how you pronounce it. Who apparently writes for the Washington Post, found the new MLK Embrace sculpture in Boston to be not great. And she's not alone. That thing is atrocious. It looks like, from one side, it looks like two hands holding the giant, thingy. And then if you look at it from a different angle, it looks like someone's eating the groceries, so to speak. Anyway, depending on the angle, you're likely to see some weird sexual position, an arm holding a giant phallus, or an arm holding a giant brown turd. Regardless of which you see, it's horrendous, and most people with functioning eyeballs agree with that assessment. Hello, Michael Hatfield. But Karen, appropriately named, doesn't just find it to be an eyesore. She also finds it to be another example of white supremacy. Or something like that. But what she says here is it's a representation of how white America butchers Martin Luther King. Behold. So here's her tweet. Boston's Embrace statue perfectly represents how white America loves to butcher Martin Luther King. Cherry-picking quotes about love and nonviolence, the horrors, while ignoring his radicalism, anti-capitalism, his fierce critique of white moderates. MLK in his fullness is still too much for them. Now, what's funny, what makes this a little bit humorous, okay, because how it represents, how it's, what does he say? If another fine example of white supremacy? Well, there's a problem with that, okay? Dog Thrapple, hello scribe, how you doing? Okay, she thought she said something really good, but still the readers who, do these little fact checks on people had to remind her that the designing artist was a black man. So I don't think it necessarily represents white supremacy. So someone here said, yes, Karen, this is the artist. He is black. And then somebody down here said, I figured the artist was actually black. So I looked it up and confirmed it, but I also understand this task was huge and took seconds. So anyway, there you go. That was in the little racism tab. That was on the list of things that are supposed to be trending for me. It has a little For You trending tab. It has a For You, and then it has an actual trending tab. But the trending tab is not curated anymore, which is interesting because now it's funny. Usually, used to be before Elon Musk. Can that be considered EM? Like we have BC, can we have EM? Before Elon Musk, BEM, BE, whatever. It used to be the trending topics were very curated, and especially like during, for example, during the 2020 election campaigns, the trending tab almost every day would have something trending, right? It might be favorable to Joe Biden or some, but if there's something, let's put it this way: if there was something negative trending that would, or even perceived it could be negative trending about Joseph Rahim Biden during the election campaign in 2020, miraculously within an hour or so, because it took the Twitter people that long to figure it out, the hashtag would be, or trending topic would be changed to something similar but negative for the guy with the funny hair, Donald John Trump. It always, I mean, I watched it with regularity. I wish I would have documented it, because you could count on it. If you saw something negative trending about Joe Biden, it would be gone within an hour, and then the rest of the day they'd have some hashtag that maybe 100 people retweeted, and it would be something trending that would be negative for Donald Trump. And so, but what's interesting now, when I go into the actual trending tab for, on Twitter, it's just really things that are trending, and it may be 7 or 8 things referring to the same shit, but but they're all related, so they were all trending. And then they have a For You tab that has things that are trending that might be related to things you've either talked about or had tweeted about or whatever, or tweeted people, and then you get that separate set of trending tabs. So this racism was in my For You trending tabs, because I'm a black man. They certainly think I'm going to care about racism, and in ways I do. So anyway, good morning, JB, by the way. Good morning, Maddie's in the house. I see you there. And I already said hi to Scribe. Okay. All right, that was boring. Now let's talk about this bill that people are talking about. Now, the people over at Ace of Spades have a nice little summary. Maybe I'll just stick with this, and then we'll check the other articles briefly. So anyway, Sheila Jackson Lee introduced a bill to make it a federal crime for white people to criticize minorities, which, and I'm not kidding, the bill would criminalize as doing a white supremacy. So now, is that accurate? I've read through a bunch of this, and it's somewhat accurate, but a lot of people are talking about it, so I thought I'd bring this up. Well, we all knew the train was heading here. Next stop, Zimbabwe. In what could only be called a convoluted mess, the bill proposes that a white person who vilifies any non-white person and has their words end up on social media, accessible by persons who are predisposed and engaging in any action furtherance of a white supremacy-inspired hate crime, would themselves be committing a federal crime. Hello, Straits It's Mail and Fox B2. Now, let me paraphrase. Well, I'm not going to paraphrase. So the bill, basically, if a white person, only white people, this is only pertaining to white people in the bill, really. If they say something if they say something bad about somebody who's not white, and the entire spectrum of not white is included, and something bad happens to a could be completely unrelated white person or non-white person, BIPOC, I always say BIPOC, black and indigenous people of color and other races, because not just those people. But anyway, if something bad happens to somebody who happens to be non-white, and it could be perceived that something you said that may have been completely unrelated could have possibly tangentially caused that person to be harmed by someone, whoever, what it is, because it doesn't even say that a white person had to commit the other crime. So for example, white guy says something bad about an Asian guy, and some black guy go punch the Asian guy in the mouth, but the white tweet could have been, the black guy could have read the white tweet, so the white guy who said something or tweeted something could be committing a federal crime for something that caused, he did not do the violence stuff part. Okay, are you following me here? It's crazy. So they would have to amend the U.S. Constitution, says it violates the First Amendment, which it doesn't. Yeah, Now here's how Ian Miles Chong read it. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee of Houston, representative from Houston, has introduced a House bill to criminalize conspiracy to commit white supremacy. And that is a quote, which includes any criticism of non-white people that influences such as something published or said online, someone who commits a hate crime. And I thought, this can't be right. This is not true. She did not write a bill that says it. But then again, it is Sheila Jackson Lee, so it wouldn't shock me. Hello, Ronan. And Septus Wolf. So here's the proposed law creates a conspiracy between two people with no connection at all to each other. If someone commits a hate crime and someone else published a post that criticizes black people and the person who committed the hate crime could have read that post, then the two are made by the law co-conspirators together in the crime of white supremacy.
You're fucking a white male!
So now here's a section of the bill. And actually, I have the bill pulled up right over here to right here. Here's the bill. Let's just go through this bill because this is interesting. So it's H.R. 61, House Resolution 61. It reads, to prevent and prosecute white supremacy-inspired hate crime and conspiracy to commit white supremacy-inspired hate crime and amend the Title 18 United States Code to expand the scope of hate crimes. Well, first of all, are there federal hate crimes? See, hate crime is a stupid concept, if you ask me. A crime is a crime is a crime, and what you were thinking when you did the crime really doesn't matter, I guess. Sure, there's a lot of different motivations for various crimes, but if you commit the crime, you should be penalized for the crime, not what you were thinking. And what the hell were you thinking? Nobody cared. It doesn't matter because the crime is the bad part. So Ms. Jackson Lee first introduced the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on the Judiciary January 9th. So even though she wrote this bill back in, I think, July, it was introduced to the Judiciary Committee on January 9th. A bill to prevent and prosecute white supremacy-inspired hate crime and conspiracy to commit white supremacy hate crime and to amend the Title 18 United States Code to expand the scope of hate crimes. Being enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America, Congress, blah, blah, blah. This act may be cited as, now here's the name of the bill, too. I hate they name these bills because they try to make it as hard as possible to be known to have voted against something like this because it makes great headlines for Democrats and it makes great fundraising newsletters for Democrats. Here's the name of the bill. The, quote, Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. Haha, yes. So if you vote against this bill, you are voting against the Leading Against White Supremacy Act of 2023. You are absolutely in favor of white supremacy. That's what, okay. And so here's section 2. That's the short title. Section 2, white supremacy inspired hate crime. Okay, here we go. It's totally better if you kill somebody with a smile on your face and love in your heart. Yes, exactly. Avocados Diabli. I know that you have love in your heart when you murder somebody. So here we go. In general, now here's, we're going to go through this. A person engages in white supremacy. In general, a person engages in a white supremacy-inspired hate crime when white supremacy ideology has motivated the planning, development, preparation, and perpetration of actions that constituted a crime or were undertaken in furtherance of activity that, if effectuated, would have constituted a crime. Wait a minute. So this is not even... Okay, this is not even if you, the way it reads, even if a crime is not committed. Listen again. A person engages in white supremacy-inspired hate crime when white supremacy ideology has motivated the planning, development, preparation, and perpetration of actions that constitute a crime or were undertaken in furtherance of activity that, if effectuated, would have constituted crime. Now, they say conspiracy is a conspiracy to engage in white supremacy-inspired hate crime shall be determined to exist, 1, between 2 or more persons engaged in the planning, development, preparation, or perpetration of white supremacy-inspired hate crime, or, listen to this one, listen to this carefully, or between 2 or more persons, at least one of whom engaged in the planning, development, preparation, and perpetration of white supremacy-inspired hate crime, and, not or, but at least one of whom published material advancing white supremacy, white supremacist ideology, antagonism based on replacement theory, or hate speech that vilifies, or is otherwise directed against any non-white person or group as such published material, and was published on social media or by other means of publication with the likelihood that it would be viewed by persons who are predisposed to engaging in any action in furtherance of white supremacy-inspired hate crime, or who are susceptible to being encouraged to engage in actions in furtherance of white supremacy-inspired hate crime. So, what they're doing. Oh, and then they continue. And 2, could, as determined by a reasonable person. Well, okay, wait a minute. You serious? A reasonable person? Who's a reasonable person? And who would be the... Anyway, as determined by a reasonable person, motivate actions by a person predisposed to engaging in white supremacy-inspired hate crime, or by a person who's susceptible to being encouraged to engage in actions related to a white supremacy-inspired hate crime, and was read, heard, or viewed by a person who engaged in the planning, development, preparation, and perpetration of a white supremacy hate crime. So, for example, let's say someone said on Twitter, in the state, they live in the state of Utah. Okay, they live in the state of Utah. Okay, and they said something on Twitter that, man, that black woman over there, she's really stupid. Okay, she's stupid. She's dumb as fuck. Okay, the person in Utah writes on Twitter that black woman over there, didn't even have to say black woman. Just we're talking about a woman that's on Twitter who happens to be black and says, "Boy, that woman's stupid." Now, what happens is somebody in, let's say, that's Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Okay, someone in Cape Girardeau, Missouri saw that tweet that the person from Utah wrote something, boy, that woman's stupid, and looked at the picture and, oh my God, he's talking about a black woman, and inspired him to go beat up some woman in the bar, right? That happens to be black. If now, again, I suppose if it couldn't be determined by a reasonable person, but if you take where I'm going, the completely unrelated person in Utah, and again, it would be a crime of white supremacy just because that's a white guy who read it and beat up some black chick in a bar. That could be advancing white supremacy because they said the black woman's stupid. This example is not very good, is it? But anyway, completely unrelated person could get in trouble for this. Because it was read, heard, or viewed by a person who engaged in the planning, development, preparation of a white supremacy-inspired hate crime. Now, Jesus, she loves to say white supremacy-inspired hate crime. And what exactly is a white supremacy-inspired hate crime? Possibly, I suppose Dylan Roof's crime could have been white supremacy-inspired hate crime. I guess, because he was a fucked up dude. That dude's just an asshole. So you're saying if someone on social media, if Dylan Roof read Ben Shapiro on Twitter, who isn't really talking. He's Ben Shapiro's not a white supremacist, but if Sheila Jackson Lee says a reasonable person, and the person who wrote this bill, who certainly thinks that they're a reasonable person, could say that, oh no, see, Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire inspired this white supremacy, whatever fucking hate crime, then they could go after Ben Shapiro and a criminal federal offense. Help me here. Does that make sense? Hello, Jimmy Das Hotep. Now, then Section 3, criminal offense in the matter preceding paragraph by inserting after race, color, religion, national origin of any person the following because of a white supremacy-based motivation against any. Here's the other problem here, though. Okay, so let's say that there's some, a brother out in let's say St. Louis, Missouri, right? And writes on Twitter, fuck all white people, right? And then a brother in New York City goes and reads that fuck all white people, and goes and throws some guy in front of a subway train and they die. This law would not apply at all because, first of all, it only says that apparently only white people can have the racial animus and whatnot, and because it's not white supremacy, it would not be the same federal crime. But it was still reading someone's tweet from St. Louis, Missouri. This is very difficult. This is very, very difficult. So anyway. There are several pieces about this. Red state, Democrats introduced legislation make white people criticizing minorities a federal crime. And this was on MLK Day, too. They started talking about this. Of course, this was 7 days after the bill was brought to the committee, wherever in Congress. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, long in the running for being the vapidest member of Congress. Oops, did I just commit a crime? Has introduced legislation that could make political criticism by white people against minorities a federal crime. In what can be only called a convoluted mess, the bill proposes that a white person who vilifies... I already read this. This is the clip they used. Anyway, so here it is. The provision is so broad that you could drive a Mack truck through it. What is a white supremacy-inspired hate crime under this statute? How is replacement theory defined? Because what Democrats call replacement theory as a way to silence Republicans is often not replacement theory at all, but is just a reiteration of a Democrat-admitted aims to use immigration to influence elections. Further, the use of "or" in Section B is important because it leaves vilifies as a standalone qualifier. What is the limiting principle here? If I post on social media that Sheila Jackson Lee is an incredibly ignorant and abusive person who has a long history of treating her staff like shit, does that mean I vilified her under this proposed law? Well, it certainly seems so. Then there's the conspiracy angle to deal with. It does not appear that there's actually any requirement that two or more persons, quote unquote, targeted under this statute have any real connection to one another. If someone commits a white supremacy-inspired hate crime against a person, and I've likewise been politically criticizing that same person on social media, even justifiably, I would now have committed a federal crime myself. So that's that's the gist of it. And let's just say Representative Lee's bill, it needs a little work, like as in through a wood chipper. So anyway. Thanks. And not the representative. I would never say that about Representative Jackson Lee. So there's a couple articles in here about it. I'm not going to read both of them. That's the gist of that one. All right, let's move on. Wait. Age, don't worry. We'll follow you on that about a month later. Though, given our politicos, we might beat you to it. Okay, I'm missing something. I would elect her corpse. What? Would we just sit there and not to write idiocy like this? Okay, she's a poster woman for gerrymandering. Why gerrymandering is bad. She has a lifetime gig and could die in office and still get reelected in her district. Oh, I see. I'm going backwards on this. Hello, TC, by the way. Yeah, she definitely is. Yeah, I think her district is completely gerrymandered. Anyway. All right, let's move on. Good morning, Cool Frog. Now, I mentioned earlier that, well, you know that the, what is it called? The World Economic Forum is, has kicked off over in Davos, Switzerland. And, you know, one of the things they like to talk about at the World Economic Forum is climate change. That's one of the big subjects every year. But then but you get hundreds of people flying over in their private jets to go to Davos because they're so concerned about climate change. Now, I don't know why they don't do the entire World Economic Forum on a giant Zoom meeting, because that would certainly save a lot of carbon output. But anyway, there's now before I get into Brian Stelter, this is kind of funny though. So apparently they're at the World Economic Forum, and this is also from Ace of Spades. There is a, well, let's just, should I call it an industry, a profession? Let's just say there's a popular pastime over in Davos, and it's not sitting with, oh, well, here it is. Davos needs whores. Klaus Schwab's Blefeldian World Domination Conference in Switzerland is importing so many prostitutes from the hinterlands that CENTCOM analysis fear a fart clam gap. Okay, I don't know what the hell that meant. Let's see. Where's the article? Here we go. I'll do the Daily Caller article because it's funny to me. An escort service is sending women to Davos at the request of the attendees. Attendees at the World Economic Forum's annual summit in Davos, Switzerland, are ordering escorts to come entertain them during their stay, according to a report from a popular Swiss news outlet. Now, when they say entertain them, we mean it. We mean entertain them. The manager of the Aargau Escort Service told Swiss commuter newspaper 20 Minutemen that she is sending women to Davos at the request of WEF attendees. She claimed that she's already received 25 inquiries, and I assume that there will be more. The manager also claimed that 11 WEF attendees have already made a reservation that would be serviced, no pun intended, oh wait, it was intended, by one of 4 women who charge 1,500 francs, or about $1,630 an hour, for 4 hours, with a full night costing around $2,700, according to the outlets. Yes! Now, the WEF reportedly hosts some particularly demanding customers, including prominent politicians, businessmen, and socialites. Our women have already been brought to Davos by diplomats and company bosses. Some also book escorts for themselves and their employees to party in the hotel suite. And when I say party, clothes optional. So anyway, whores in Davos, news at 11. I wonder if these escorts are over 18. That's a good question, Blue-Eyed Scream. Welcome to the show, by the way. So anyway, yeah, they're ordering whores in Davos. Speaking of whores, Brian Stelter, the former CNN media analyst, is in the World Economic Forum, and he's hosting the World Economic Media Disinformation Panels, and he suggests that the U.S. adopt EU censorship policies. Yes, Brian Stelter, we're so excited. On Tuesday, disgraced former CNN anchor Brian Stelter took to the stage at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting to chair a panel on disinformation. Now, the Oh, the irony. Anyway, the panelists claim that the spread of fake news was among the greatest threats currently facing society and praise Europe for its strict internet regulations. Oh, joy. Good morning to hi, hello, one who. So, now how does this discussion of disinformation relate to everything? Okay, well, let's just look at some clips. I'm not gonna read this. Let's go to the first clip here. Just Brian Stelter here. Introducing, he's the the clear and present danger of disinformation panel. Again, the irony is so thick. I have large knives that won't cut through it. But here we go. Here's Brian Stelter being introducing his topic.
The clear and present danger of disinformation.
Yes, Brian.
Is our conversation here this afternoon. It follows a session just now about disrupting distrust. And of course, those are connected. So I hope that's where we can start.
Oh, you mean like...
I'm Brian Stelter, formerly of CNN, now a fellow at Harvard University.
Formerly of This is CNN.
We can try to put some real...
At Harvard University. How the hell did this little... Wait a minute, what? Mike says Klaus died from gangrene of the penis. Oh, no. Or is that a future headline? Speaking of penis, who in the hell invited Brian Stelter to the World Economic Forum? And why is he considered an expert on disinformation? Oh, wait, that's a silly question. He probably is an expert on disinformation and misinformation because he's one of the world's largest purveyors of it. Anyway.
Information out into the world to make up for all the crazy. I'll tell you a brief, funny, maybe not funny story. So I leave CNN with regard...
Okay, the cuts here are amazing. The funny story is I leave CNN. But this lady right here, wait, I'm going to skip this one because this lady right here says something that really, really is scary. I'm just saying. So let's see. Here, this is when he was talking about the Europeans being, well, first here's he talking about Schultzberger for the New York Times. Here, let's see. The most existential challenge we're grappling with as a society. Here's the
talk from the newsroom and the news publishing perspective, and then we'll work our way toward some of the political parts of the conversation. How does this discussion of disinformation relate to everything else happening here today in Davos?
Well, first, thanks for having me as part of this conversation. As you can imagine, this is something I really
and the excitement in his voice about being here, talking to Brian Stelter about this is just unfathomable. Anyway,
care deeply about. So I think if you look at this question of disinformation.
Oh, the New York Times telling us about disinformation too. The Russian laptop story, it's Russian disinformation, New York Times. Anyway.
I think it maps basically to every other major challenge that we are grappling with as a society, and particularly the most existential among them.
Oh, so, most existential, not nuclear threat from Russians or even ourselves in the retaliation or the China's in the South China Sea doing war games. No, this disinformation thing is the most existential threat according to Schultzberger at the New York Times.
Disinformation in the broader set of misinformation, yes. Conspiracy, propaganda, clickbait, the broader mix of bad information that's
the New York Times editorial
information ecosystem. What it attacks is trust. And once you see trust decline, what you then see is societies start to fracture. And
how's that circulation data for the New York Times going lately? How's the subscriptions to your online services going? I'm just curious. Oh, you mean people don't trust you anymore because you're clearly a mouthpiece for the what do they always call it? The Uniparty. You're the mouthpiece for the Uniparty, mostly Democrats, though.
And so you see people fracture along tribal lines.
Tribal lines, yes, like the New York Times.
And that immediately undermines pluralism.
Pluralism.
And, the undermining of pluralism is probably the most dangerous thing that can happen to a democracy. So
the undermining of pluralism is the most dangerous thing that can happen to a democracy. Really? You don't think the squelching of people's voices, the limiting of people's ability to speak freely, associate freely, and the way we do it in the United States, not the European version of speaking freely, the United States version. What the hell are you talking about? Tribalism is an example of pluralism. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Thank you.
I think if you're spending this week thinking about the health of democracies and democratic erosion, I think it's really important to work your way back up to where this starts.
Oh, now what's interesting though, when he says where this starts, okay, listen to what he says where this. Oh, this isn't it. He gets into talking about. He and Brian start talking about well, they don't mention him by name, but the former guy, the president with the funny hair, and he was comparing him to Stalin and Hitler. I don't know if I have that clip, but anyway. Now this guy, Seth Moulton, Europeans are way ahead of us regarding disinformation. This is interesting. They're way ahead of us regarding disinformation, as in the Europeans control what people are allowed to say more. What is he trying to say here? Let's listen to this.
Between a clear, verifiable fact and a clear, verifiable lie. There's so much in between. And so that's why you're saying the rules have to be set up in a way not to be abused.
Yes.
Congressman, should we learn in the U.S. something from the structures that the Europeans have adopted?
Well, look, I think in general the U.S. has a lot to learn in terms of data regulation, internet regulation. I mean, you're way ahead of us in that regard. But we believe very strongly in free speech. I believe very strongly in free speech. And I think there is a healthy concern in the United States that the EU might be going a little too far. So I mean, I think
you. At least
look
he
at this
said
from both
that.
perspectives. Yes, they're ahead of us, and they're doing some smart things.
No, not may have gone too far. There are places in Europe where you can be arrested for things you say or people you criticize or groups you criticize. Now, should you be able to? Should you criticize groups for whatever you're criticizing for? Who knows? But that should be your prerogative. But no. People go to jail for saying bad things about the wrong people and having bad thoughts. Or even one guy I can't remember which country it was over there, but he got arrested for retweeting somebody whose thoughts were bad. He got arrested, but the guy who tweeted the original tweet did not get arrested. So anyway, let's see.
That I know when I use the internet in Europe and I get all the warnings about cookies and whatnot, that actually makes me feel safer. That makes me feel better. And a lot of American consumers want that level of security on the internet for your own data privacy and whatnot. But we also have a healthy concern that we're not going to be censored, and that's the world that we live in. I don't think anyone in America, I don't think lawmakers in America want to give up on the fundamental principle of free speech.
Now, I just read a bill by Sheila Jackson Lee that makes me double think that. How about you? Anybody? Bueller? All right. Now, let's see. Let me see if I get the one where this lady opens her yap, because she's the one who concerns me the most. Let me see if I can find that quote. It might be let's see. Well, we'll go back to this article real quick, because I think what happened to her? I had it. She says a line that really makes me concerned. Wait, what's this one? Hang on, let's try this one. Is this the one?
The clear and present danger.
No, that's not it. Doggone it. I lost it. Anyway, let's get back to this article real quick. This is a different article. Now, what Stelter and Seth Moulton are talking about, though, should concern us all. After CEO Chris Licht began to take stock of the mess he'd acquired over at CNN, one of the first moves he made was to get rid of Brian Stelter and cancel his show Reliable Sources back in August 2022. Now, where did he go after getting the boot? After acting like a Democratic operative? Well, he was named the Harvard Kennedy School Walter Shorenstein Media and Democracy Fellow. to work with both students and faculty during the fall of 2022. Yippee. Anyway, anyone imagining thinking Stelter was an authority on anything, much less threats to democracy, what are the chances that he was talking about BLM and Antifa in those threats, the weaponization of the federal government against the people, the media, or the media aligning itself with a political party to push their narrative? I'm guessing none of those topics came up whatsoever in the nonsense he was pushing. But this week, Stelter was involved elsewhere at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. Guess what he's doing there? He's on the WEF panel warning about the clear and present danger of disinformation. Now, is he there teaching how to spread disinformation? Which is probably what it should be. But A.D. Schultzberger of the New York Times, he is the chairman of the New York Times, and he claims that disinformation is the most existential challenge to what we're grappling with in our society. Maybe trust declines because the American people can no longer trust the media to print the truth, take a side, and not take a side. Maybe Schultzberger should examine why millions no longer trust the New York Times. Listen as Stelter can't stop talking about President Donald Trump and claims he lied. Here's the clip. I think this is it. Is this it? I think this is it.
The clear and present danger of disinformation is our conversation here this afternoon. It follows a session just now about disrupting distrust. And of course, those are connected. So I hope that's where we can start. I'm Brian Stelter, formerly of CNN, now a fellow at Harvard University. We can try to put some real information out into the world to make up for all the crazy. I'll tell you a brief, funny,
saw this clip already.
Maybe not funny story.
Oh, I didn't finish it.
So I leave CNN with regards to 2016 and Trump showing that lying works. Has that only become more true in the last 6 years?
Because Trump is
Do you see evidence that
between
less
his
true,
ears.
hopefully, now? But haven't we seen many Democrats in the last 6 years pressuring Facebook and Twitter and now TikTok to be stronger in content moderation?
Like, he thinks that's a
Hasn't
good
that been a
thing. He thinks that's a good thing. Like, the Twitter files are coming out, all the push for content moderation, Brian Stelter thinks that's a good thing.
That we've seen crash over for years now?
Well, I think this is the question of, ultimately what we're trying to achieve there is some measure of public safety, right?
Yes. Yes, they do it in the name of public safety. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we just want public safety. And who's against public safety?
Sure, there are some politicians who are going to go out and just get angry at Facebook if they see things that are mean. The difference is when, I have a constituency that I'm trying to keep healthy and I can't get them to take a COVID vaccine because of misinformation that's propagated on the internet.
Oh, great. Anyway, Representative Seth Moulton said, well, I think this is a question we ultimately are trying to achieve. There is some measure of public safety. Moulton then blames misinformation for not being able to get people to take the jab. Guys, that's calling for government censorship. Did you even listen to yourselves? If you can't convince people to get a vaccine, that's on you, the failure of what you are saying. And it doesn't justify cracking down on speech of the people who disagree with you. Then, of course, we get to the question of who gets to decide what misinformation is. The media and politicians on the left have been replete with all kinds of misinformation over the past couple of years, but that was okay to them and not censored or suppressed because they were the folks who controlled the social media organs. Now, that there is at least one media organ, Twitter, that is not under your control, they have started talking about cracking down on speech. Questioning speech and calling things fake news is bad, according to Schultzberger.
The term fake news and then disinformation, it was popularized 6 years ago at this point. Where are we today versus then?
What do you mean, where are we today versus then?
So this was a hot, popular topic.
Yeah.
There was an awakening about it. The social networks felt pressure. But now where are we? And same question for Jeannie, but where are we today?
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a great, and to be clear, actually, terms like fake news and enemies of the people have been popularized cyclically in society and
By who?
in some of the most repressive and dangerous moments. Nazi Germany, Stalinist Russia.
Nazi Germany and Stalinist Russia.
So I think anytime we're hearing language like that applied to a free press, or more broadly free expression, I think we should be really worried. Look, I think that there's
Andre says prostitution is the #1 industry during Davos World Economic Forum meetings every year. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all. Whites have become the more, so make it law. LOL. Well, it specifically says whites, though, Andre. It specifically says whites. Anyway. And thank you, Jimmy Das Hotep, for sponsoring the show. Jimmy Das Hotep, you are the new Streamlabs Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you, sir. Jimmy Das says, I say let people hate out loud. Let's see who they are. I imagine most hate groups are a vast minority, and letting them be out in the open would diminish politicians' ability to use them for fear votes. They hate free speech. You know what? I am like, if you're one prone to use what some people would call hate speech, I'm all for you saying it out loud. That's why I know who to avoid, who to not be around. Thank you, Jimmy Das Hotep, for sponsoring the show. We'll fix that. So I'm just saying. Did I miss one here? I must have missed one. Did I? Oh, Tyrus, I am so sorry. I missed your chat there. Thank you for dropping a small bulletin tip jar. Unconstitutional and ripe for abuse. This is not bridging the divide. It is widening the gap. This will make more violence than stop it. This is vile. That's in relation. I'm talking about Sheila Jackson Lee's proposal, the bill, H.R. 61, House Resolution 61. So anyway, this is the one who makes me nervous. Okay, so the problem isn't questioning speech. The problem was the fascism and communism shutting down opponents and their speech. See, it's not that they had too much speech. It's that Nazi Germany and Stalin, they suppressed speech, which is something we don't want to happen here. Calling something fake news because you think that the media are assholes, that's not suppressing speech, because the media can still talk. You're not banning them. You're not saying they can't say what they say. But if you say something is fake news and say all of a sudden you're no longer allowed to say that, or we'll put you in a gulag or a jail, or I'm not going to say the other thing I was going to say, but anyway, that would be the problem. That would be the suppression of speech that we do not want. Anyway, Vera Jourova of the European Commission for Values and Transparency. What? Of the European Commission for Values and Transparency? That absolutely sounds like a government agency. Took it a little further, talking about illegal hate speech. And here it is. Here's the one that she said that makes me nervous.
For hate speech, well, we need the people who understand the language and the case law in the country. Because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the US.
What?
I think that for hate speech, well, we need the people who understand the language and the case law in the country. Because what qualifies as hate speech, as illegal hate speech, which you will have soon also in the US.
We will. How is she so certain that we will soon have in the US? Remember, the Supreme Court, prior to Justice Ketanji Jackson Brown, Ketanji Brown Jackson. I always get that mixed up. I always want to say Ketanji Jackson Brown, like as in running low, running on empty. But no, Ketanji Brown Jackson before her. 9-0 on a hate speech law. Okay, sorry, that's not constitutional. We don't have hate speech laws in the United States. They went 9-0. Thank you, Jordan, for dropping a link into the tip jar. Shoots their credibility. Why would disinformation do this? Because their credibility on disinformation is they're the biggest purveyors of disinformation. But thank you for dropping a link into the tip jar. Appreciate it. So Brian asked Moulton about the U.S. doing what Europe has done to crack down on speech. Moulton claims that we have a lot to learn from Europe. No. It's the other way around. They're way ahead of us in that regard. He does give a nod to concerns for free speech. He was a Marine, so he took something away from that. But We've already seen Democrats trying to do exactly that. Follow Europe, try to censor speech they don't like under the umbrella of misinformation and hate speech. We saw Senator Ben Cardin, a Democrat from Maryland, citing approvingly Europe, saying we needed to act aggressively and go after hate speech on social media. We saw Amy Klobuchar in Minnesota, my state, endorsing subjecting social media companies to hefty lawsuits to force them to do something about misinformation. We also saw the Office of Representative Adam Schiff, the pencil neck prick from California, going after a journalist to shut down what he was saying, claiming he was pushing conspiracy theories because he was reporting on things that exposed Adam Schiff himself. So the kind of thing they're talking about at the World Economic Forum, and that is not a conspiracy. This is where they think things are moving, and this should concern all of us. Spot freaking on. All right. So I'm gonna skip a couple other things on the World Economic Forum front. Here's something scary that you should be concerned about. Anna Lynn, welcome. Nice to see you. Here's something that you should be concerned about. And I saw this article and I'm like, are y'all messing with me? Because this is some Bill Gates shit that makes me nervous. So apparently some corporates have begun geoengineering the climate without anyone's consent. So here is the story. I'm going to move it to make it a little bigger here. An American startup firm has admitted to releasing reactive particles into the atmosphere in attempt to alter the climate for $1 million. Anyway, the move has attracted widespread criticism and marks a potentially dangerous new stage in the intensifying response to Earth's climate crisis. Just before Christmas 2022, the firm called Make Sunsets acknowledged it had launched weather balloons containing sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. The launches took place in April 2022 in Baja California, Mexico, months before the company was even incorporated. When quizzed about it, the company's CEO, Luke Eisman, was unrepentant. "It's morally wrong, in my opinion, for us not to be doing this," he said, adding that it's important to do this as quickly and safely as we can because of the threat of man-made climate change. Really? Do they have any idea what they're doing? How do they know the perfect mix and content of the particles that they're putting up there? What if they did something like, and remember what's that movie called? The Day After or something? The Day After Tomorrow or whatever, where the whole world freezes. You start blocking the sun, that could have some consequences. Anyway, critics, including geoengineers, say Make Sunset's efforts are dangerous, not only because the field is very much in its infancy, but also because they could have wildly different effects from those intended. The current state of science is not good enough to either reject or accept, let alone implement solar geoengineering, said Janos Pastor, executive director of the Carnegie Climate Governance Initiative, which seeks to impose restrictions on geoengineering projects. To go ahead with implementation at this stage is a very bad idea. Yeah, they did this with these motherfuckers need to get arrested. I'm sorry. They have no idea what the hell they're doing. Other scientists believe this unannounced and unmonitored release of chemicals in the atmosphere could set science back, disrupting its funding and leading to public calls to restrict research. Yeah, that's what should happen. The move has been compared to other reckless innovations, including the use of CRISPR gene edited technology by a Chinese scientist on human embryos without proper evaluation of the safety and ethics of doing so. So anyway, so they're talking about now they talk about geoengineering here, which you can read on that yourself. But here's the part that I thought was important. By whose consent did they do this? The issue of informed consent is a live issue given the events of the past 3 years. Once again, decisions of major import are being made on the public's behalf without knowledge or approval, although the immediate implications may seem less serious than our liberties being denied during the pandemic, the potential threat to our lives and livelihoods is arguably far worse if geoengineering is allowed to continue unabated. The retort that nobody consented to your carbon emissions in the first place is fatuous. We all obviously consent to that when we consume. Whether it makes sunsets will face any negative effects for what they have done beyond perhaps a few spooked investors remains to be seen, but it's unlikely. Although it was initially claimed that Rush George had broken international law, no action was ever taken against him. International law appears to be poorly equipped to deal with the behavior of rogue actors like George and now makes sunset. They have to, there's that, there's not even laws that regulate. These guys just throwing some shit up in the air and hope it sticks. We should all be nervous. We should all be nervous about shit like this. All right, next. This is an interesting article. Well, let's put that away. Let's go into some media news because that's what I wanted to do today. Apparently, this is CNN is closing its iconic CNN Center in Atlanta. You remember the place where remember during the BLM thing and they were protesting outside? This is CNN. And they were shooting fireworks in the building and breaking their windows and shit. CNN has been a part of the fabric of Atlanta since local media magnate Ted Turner launched the network in 1980, and it's literally been a part of the city's skyline and footprint since it moved to a prominent spot in downtown Atlanta in 1987. Sadly, CNN has concentrated most of its operations in New York City and Washington, D.C. in recent years, and soon CNN's downtown presence will only be a memory. The network is moving out of its downtown space in what we now call the CNN Center. For more than 35 years, CNN is leaving its downtown mainstay in stages this year, with the entire operation moving back to renovated space at the 30-acre Ted Turner Techwood campus in Midtown, according to a CNN spokeswoman. Well, they're downsizing. They don't need that much room. Everyone, okay, that's all I care about in this particular article. Everyone say a prayer for CNN. Or not. Okay, next. Let's see what I got. More media news. The latest Twitter files, if you haven't been paying attention, show how Big Pharma pushed social media silence #People's Vaccine movement. And this is an astonishing glimpse. Okay, here we go. Another batch of Twitter files landed hot off the thread reader, focusing on how Big Pharma pushed its COVID vaccine narrative onto social media. Investigative journalist Li Feng explained how the vaccine manufacturer and distributor Pfizer partner BioNTech sought to censor those calling for low-cost generic vaccines. So if you weren't paying attention to this, basically, Pfizer and BioNTech and one of the lobbying groups that they have had a line into Twitter, just like some of the media, just like some of the politicians, and just like the federal alphabet agencies. Well, Pfizer also had their claws in Twitter, asking them to take down any type of posts that, not even making people vaccine hesitant, but that, for example, may discourage wider spread use of vaccines. Like, for example, the fact that chillins, the little chillins, probably were statistically not in need of the juice in the arm and as much as, more vulnerable populations. And Pfizer would even though that was a fact, Pfizer discouraged Twitter from doing that stuff. And for whatever reason, advertising dollars, Twitter went along with it. So Li Feng had a long thread on it. You can read about this one on your own too, but I found it fascinating. Twitter is admonished to look for hashtags such as #People's Vaccine, directed at pharmaceutical firms. In December 2020, German biotech giant BioNTech emailed Twitter directly to ask content moderators to censor users who had posted tweets asking the company to share in its intellectual property and patents to allow other drug makers to produce the generic vaccines at lower costs. And not to do generic vaccines. So this is a worldwide pandemic and everyone's going to die, but the people who are making money off this, like the Pfizers and Minorities of the world, were saying, no, we shouldn't be doing generic products, we can do it cheaper because we have the patents and we want to be able to make all the money off of this worldwide pandemic that the many countries were requiring people, their entire populations, to get the jab. And so they were discouraging anyone on Twitter or told Twitter to discourage anyone, or, shadow ban or whatever, anyone who got off the message that would sell them more vaccines. Anyway, so there's a long thread about that, and that's kind of the very, very, very short version of the whole thing, but it's about 13 or 14 tweets long. You can read that one on your own. The FANG's analysis corresponds with the findings of New York Times reporter Alex Berenson, who focused on Dr. Scott Lieb, President Donald Trump's Food and Drug Administration commissioner and sitting board member of Pfizer. The findings also align with David Zweig, who showed how the critical debate about COVID was stifled by bots, foreign contractors, and biased executives who pruned decision trees to determine specific tweets' fates. Before COVID, Americans were generally keen to trust doctors and public health officials automatically. Fang, Berenson, and Zweig have provided astonishing glimpses into the fiscal power of big pharma and the industry's focus on profits instead of real science, national security, and basic humanities. So anyway, the big pharma companies also had their little fingers or claws or whatever you call it digging into Twitter. Let's see. Now, this is, I'm kind of moving on. It's still media related. But if you hadn't noticed, there's it's interesting that they don't seem to be calling it a scandal yet. But the president of the United States, when he was the vice president of the United States, and in between the time that he was vice president of the United States and president of the United States, had a little classified document problem, right? And we've been hearing about it in the media. Now, some media outlets are getting a little more aggressive in asking at press conferences, but still, when you look at the media, they seem to be coming up with certain narratives to kind of distract or at least deflect the criticisms that people who criticize that kind of stuff have, right? So, interesting article in the Federalist today. For absurd media narratives to distract Americans from Joe Biden's simultaneous scandals. Oh, there are scandals at the Joe Biden White House? How could that be? Because the media is not talking about them. So anyway, President Biden and his official representatives, whether members of his legal team or part of the White House press office, as well as his surrogates in the Democratic Party, find themselves drowning in a scandal. With White House oversight committees now in the hands of Republicans, the Biden administration can no longer spurn demands for documents and answers to questions related to President Joe Biden's involvement in and profiting from his son Hunter's international financial entanglements. Add to that a long-ignored scandal. The incoming flood of questions concerned the discovery of 3 separate batches of unsecured classified documents dating back to his time as vice president, and we have a perfect storm set to destroy Biden's presidency, which, as I have said before, seems more than likely to be by design. But Biden need not fret. The legacy media have dispatched their journalists to moonlight as a PR team for the president, as best exemplified by the New York Times lengthy piece from last week. Quote, Hunter Biden's tangled tale comes front and center, end quote. The Times is not alone, however, in spinning scandals. While it's still early days, here are 4 narratives that have already launched. And this is a pretty good list, I think. Number 1, and you know this one, Republicans pounce. No matter the scandal, the Democrat defending media reflexively runs with the Republicans pounce formula, and so the coverage of the investigation into Biden's financial dealings and his mishandling of classified material predictably followed that approach. The story became about Republicans' reaction to the scandal and not the scandal itself. Quote, Republicans pounced. On the discovery Saturday of more classified documents at Joe Biden's residence, accusing the president of hypocrisy and questioning why the records were not brought to light earlier, The Guardian opened its coverage of the revelation that Biden had stored classified documents at his home in addition to a closet at the D.C. office building. Other outlets, such as This Is CNN, moved away from its overused Republican pounce framing, substituting attack. Republicans attack for the overworn cliche as House Republicans officially take over Congress and clamor to investigate the Biden administration. A new line of attack fell squarely into their laps. Classified documents recovered from one of President Joe Biden's private offices when he served as vice president. CNN began its coverage of the growing list of investigations Biden's pace. Now, while the pounced and attacked and seized upon, etc., and other thesaurus-ready descriptors of Republican responses to the scandals permeate much of the corrupt media's coverage of Joe Biden's scandals, the New York Times deserves accolades for creativity, with the old gray lady making the story about Republicans in a fresh new way. Quote, "The way Republicans tell it, President Biden has been complicit in a long-running scheme to profit from his position in public life through shady dealings around the world engineered by his son, Hunter Biden." End quote. Then over the course of some 6,000 words, the Times presented the Biden family tale as its own. Now, while not the Republicans' pounce headline conservatives expect, this is a new introductory technique allows apologists in the press to divert attention away from the story by presenting news as mere claims made by Republicans. The Times, however, quickly reverted to the pounce light attack charge to soften the financial scandal to wit. So here's a quote. After his father became vice president, Hunter Biden, a 52-year-old Yale-educated lawyer, because anybody cares, forged business relationships with foreign interests that brought him millions of dollars, raised questions about whether he was cashing in on his family name, set off alarms among government officials about potential conflicts of interest, and provided Republicans an opening for years of attacks on his father. Have you seen one attack so far? At least coming from Republicans anyway. The second distraction, poor Hunter Biden. The New York Times nearly 6,000-word tome also introduced prominent poor Hunter spin, hoping pity for the surviving Biden son would diminish the scandals or at least sidetrack readers. I should have sad music. I never have sad music ready. After the death of his brother Beau in 2015, Hunter descended into a spiral of addiction and tawdry self-destructive behavior, the Times told its readers, stressing Hunter's is sober now. The supposed standard-bearer of journalism then framed his legal troubles as, quote, stemming from his behavior during those most troubled years. And for Hunter lying on a form he filled out to purchase a handgun in 2018, falsely saying he was not using drugs, the Times sought to downplay any such charges by noting that Hunter had openly acknowledged in his years of struggle with drugs and alcohol. So he stood over in the corner for a while on his own, on his own accord, and just struggled by himself, or I don't know. Anyway, the potential gun charges and tax evasion charges being looked into by the Delaware U.S. Attorney's offices, the Times claimed, quote, trace back to a time when Hunter had intensifying problems with addiction and his loss of relationship with three of the people closest to him. Oh, except for his daughter in Missouri, a longtime colleague, his wife, and his brother. Well, not his brother's wife. Excuse me. The Times then spoke of Hunter's business manager as his safety net, who was in on the Biden family's secret, Hunter's alcoholism. More like his just being a shitty person. But it was Beau, Hunter's older brother, who ensured Hunter quote, attended Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and steered him back towards sobriety whenever he relapsed. Oh, Bo is such a saint. Rest in peace, Bo. And then the Times says, after Bo died of brain cancer in 2015, Hunter had another relapse, and for the first time, his brother was not there to help him. Oh, no. Hunter brought his drinking briefly back under control, but the first anniversary of Bo's death sent him into a spiral of depression that led to an addiction to crack cocaine. So basically, they need to get the violins out, and I should have had some violins ready for that story. But the other two that are obvious that they do is Orange Man bad and Americans want GOP to solve real problems. You're not talking about real problems. You're just hashing up some garbage there, and we want you to tackle real problems. They want that. I won't go through them, but they're, the typical, here's how we deflect from the fact that Joe Biden is maybe fucking up. All right, let's move on. Let's see. Cleaning out, will big media ever take a look at Biden's mishandling of classified documents? That's a good question. Cleaning out Joe's dirty garbage. Big media will never let Joe Biden get away with legally taking classified documents from the White House in 2016 and stashing them in his office and in his garage next to his Corvette. The H reporters at liberal places like the New York Times, CNN, and NBC are already digging deep into the facts of the Biden mishandling of classified documents. Soon the big wait a minute, is this serious? Soon the big media will be telling us exactly what classified documents Biden illegally took home and where he's been keeping them for more than 6 years, what he used them for, and if it is true that he did not really know he had any of them. It won't be long until we know the truth about why a batch of unsecured classified documents that was discovered by the White House at the Penn Biden Center think tank before the midterms were not revealed to the public until this week. Of course, in the real world, we know none of good journalism is being done. None of this good journalism is being done by big media. Okay, I get it now. That's what they should have been doing, but that's not what they're doing. Okay, that's not what they're doing. The liberal media star reporters and pundits still don't know squat about the Biden case. Let's call it Garage Gate. No, let's not call it anything Gate. Tired of hearing the Gate handle being used on everything. But already they're trying to say that Biden's possession of unspecified classified material pertaining to Ukraine, Iran, and the UK is not as serious or sleazy or scary as what Donald Trump had. Oh, Donald Trump is terrible. Except Donald Trump had his in a skiff, and he had some in a closet in a garage next to his Corvette. Anyway, parroting the Democrats, the liberal media argue that Trump had many more documents, as if it's the number that counts. Yeah, we don't. We don't know because we don't know what the documents are that Joe Biden had. This is silly. Anyway, let's move on. The media is not going to do anything with this. Now I got to rephrase that, because some of the media, especially the White House press corps, they were pretty brutal with Latrine yesterday. I mean, they really went after her and were asking real questions. And I was surprised, and I'm wondering if someone got a memo in the press corps that it's time to take Joe down and make this a real scandal and maybe make him not run again, or possibly even resign now. So the media has actually been a little bit better on this, but when you read the articles written online, you don't see it, but you certainly see the pressure in the White House press corps. So anyway, let's see. That's Joe's laundry. Oh, this is media outlets demand to know who guaranteed Bankman-Fried's $250 million bond. I am a little curious about. Anyone else curious about who secured his $250 million bond? Because you'd have to do, what's 6% of $250 million? 12. $15 million, basically. Someone put up $15 million. And they said it might have been against someone's home. So do his parents have a $15 million home? How did they do that? Anyway, 8 MSM outlets have asked the U.S. judge overseeing the case of Sam Bankman-Fried to make public the names of 2 people who helped front the FTX founder's $250 million bond. The outlets AP, Bloomberg, CBS, Wall Street Journal publisher Dow Jones, the Financial Times, Insider, and WAPO, along with several requests by the New York Times, argued that the public interest cannot be overstated, saying the public's right to know outweighs the guarantor's right to privacy. Okay. Now, while Mr. Bankman-Fried is accused of serious financial crimes, a public association with him does not carry nearly the same stigma as with the Jeffrey Epstein child sex trafficking scandal, wrote the lawyer for the outlets. Notably, the judge in the SBF case is the same one who presided over Ghislaine Maxwell's case. Oh, did I say that? Ghislaine Maxwell is how I pronounce it. I think it's Ghislaine, but I think it's fun to say Ghislaine. Anyway, while SBF lawyers Mark Cohen and Christian Everdell also represented Maxwell in her criminal case, SBF also hired James P. Harkins, a private investigator known as the Real Hound Dog, who also works with Ghislaine. SBF's lawyers have argued that his parents, who co-signed the $250 million bond using their house as a very fractional collateral, have been harassed and received physical threats since the early November collapse of FTX. One of the conditions of his bail would be house arrest at his parents' home in Palo Alto, California. Yeah, I don't know that their house is worth $250 million, though. Now, according to the New York Post, the family had contracted a private security firm in the Bay Area to patrol the grounds for $10,000 a week to protect SBF from mounting death threats. One source told, they probably could get to the security agency if they really wanted to get him. Anyway, one source told the Post, the family is nervous. There have been numerous death threats. They're not taking any chances. Okay. But anyway, so we still don't know for sure who put up the bond. All right, we'll skip that. DOJ declined to monitor Biden attorneys. Oh, so now we know also. So they were searching for those documents. And this happened whenever they found it 6 months ago or whatever. And they didn't monitor Biden's personal attorney's search for classified documents. You know how the FBI raided the guy with the funny hair's place. Now, the good boys, when they turned in one of their own recognizance, because of the fact that someone opened a personal file and saw a document marked classified on top and thought, oh my goodness, I had better not look at the rest of this file. I should turn it in. And then but then his own lawyers went back to search for more. The Justice Department reportedly decided against monitoring President Joe Biden's legal team as it searched while the president's searched the Wilmington, Delaware home for classified documents. DOJ officials considered sending FBI agents to monitor the search conducted by Biden's personal attorneys, but decided against the oversight to avoid complicating the investigation and because Biden's legal team had been cooperative, according to the Wall Street Journal. So, oh my God. So supposedly, because he was cooperative, that the fact that these were classified and top secret documents they were finding, they still allowed his lawyers to do it, without supervision. Meanwhile, there's also no White House, what do they call it, the visitors logs at his personal home, which is unusual because if he did any business at home, they would still have to know who he was doing business with, right? Apparently not in this case. I don't know. Anyway, after 10 classified documents were found in Biden's office at a think tank in D.C., Biden's attorneys prepared to search the president's over the other properties for sensitive government papers. DOJ officials met with Biden's attorney at the head of the search. Oh, wait a minute. They did? Well, what are they talking about? Okay. And the two sides agreed. To allow Biden's team to conduct the search without immediate oversight from the FBI. So you let them. They even consulted with each other whether or not they let Biden's lawyers look for these classified documents. So they don't know if there are more or not. Because, oh my God. Shit makes my head hurt. Republicans on Capitol Hill have demanded answers from the White House over the document drama and alleged double standard between the DOJ's handling of classified documents related to Biden versus those related to former President Donald Trump. Well, there's a lot of differences to them, and you shouldn't necessarily compare apples and oranges, except for the fact that the Trump people were in negotiation with these people, and they still raided him with the FBI. I'm sorry, it's definitely a two-tiered system or double standard system or whatever. All right, only a couple more left, and I'm getting out of here. Try not to laugh at the Department of Justice's excuse for not sending FBI to raid Biden's homes for classified documents. So this is by someone named Victoria Taft. Attorney General Merrick Garland is feeling the heat over obvious double standard between the Mar-a-Lago raid and on Donald Trump's home to retrieve classified documents and Joe Biden's Car-a-Largo. That's the new catchphrase, the Car-a-Lago scandal. As a result, Biden's hitman, who can't comment on an ongoing investigation. Oh no. That's so familiar. That's a comfort food hearing that phrase. Has clearly greenlighted his patented links to friendly media to make excuses for his duplicity. If this weren't such a tell for how corrupt the Justice Department is, the excuses would be funny. But since America's system of jurisprudence in the DOJ and the FBI clearly so irretrievably have fallen and could take civil society sliding down the hill with it, we should consider Garland's excuses for the seriousness of for which they've offered, or the lack of seriousness, I should say. Now you can laugh. It's going to take more than one of Garland's no comment comments to convince anyone paying attention to this ridiculous charade that there's no gambling at Rick's. Yet, Garland's excuse making is amazing to behold for his audacity in believing anyone dumb enough to believe this claptrap. Allow me to distill this nonsense that Garland's Justice Department characterized as people familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday afternoon. First up, Merrick Garland, approved leak, wants us to believe that, oh gosh, we considered having the FBI SWAT team oversee the raid to get the illegal documents, but the Justice Department decided against it, both to avoid complicating later stages of the investigation and because Mr. Biden's attorney had quickly turned over the first batch and were cooperating according to people familiar with the matter. Just like Donald Trump. Just kidding. President Trump had the authority to declassify documents and as President of the United States was allowed to take all of them as his personal documents, according to Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project. Not so with the vice president, which Biden was when he purloined the documents at the highest security classification. We're told, but we don't have proof since we have only the say-so of Biden's lawyer, Richard Sauber, that some of the documents pertain to Ukraine and China. Of course, those are the countries from which Hunter Biden was extracting millions of dollars for access to the Veep. What are the other reasons there? Anyway, I'm going to stop there because this one's way too long. Hey, I am, let's see. They already maxed out their presidential residence raid budget for the year. That's a good one. Oh, I might steal that, AD. All right. Oh, by the way, and I don't have time to go through these that much, but here's a good one. Since Biden's inauguration, anonymous Chinese donors poured billions into the university that houses this think tank. Yeah, we already know it's about, what, like 52 million? Something like that? Oh, 60. That's in addition to 61 million that the University of Pennsylvania received from Chinese donors between 2017 and 2020. So anyway, 51 million in foreign funding, including 14 million from an unnamed contributors in China and Hong Kong, and 2.4 million from unnamed contributors in Saudi Arabia. The only reason that doesn't mean anything Okay, so poured into the universities. What am I trying to say here? Nah, it doesn't look good. Never mind. I'm just talking out of my butthole. All right. Other articles that'll be in the links, but I don't have time. The Obama ethics chief slams Biden over classified doc scandal. Inexcusable neglect of the most basic security protocols. Anyone shocked? I'm shocked that someone in the Obama administration said it. Obama administration ethics chief Walter Schaub slammed President Joe Biden during an interview this week after classified documents were found in his home and a think tank bearing his at a think tank bearing his name. But here again, listen to this though. He always has to qualify it with what Trump did. It's nothing like Trump's deliberate refusal to return classified documents demanded by the National Archives. Oh, gee, really? The National Archives have control over the former president? But Biden's own retention of classified records reflects an inexcusable neglect of the most basic security protocols. The fact that the White House didn't mention that records were found in more than one location when first asked about them was a breach of trust with public and a self-inflicted wound. Yep, true. Because, again, the difference. Where'd they find them at Trump's place? Oh, they were locked in a secure location and there's Secret Service agents around. A skiff, so to speak. Where did they find him? Where did they find Biden's documents? Oh, in a closet in his office and in his garage, in a back room behind the garage on his home. No. Oh, wait. It was locked next to his Corvette. Well, my Corvette's in there. No, that was locked. Oh, yeah, whatever. All right. And then the other two, DNC also comes with Labe's excuse for apparently missing tax returns of Biden's. How they usually put the president's tax returns on a website. Well, apparently they're missing, and the DNC had an excuse. Let's see. Last summer, in the course of regular website maintenance, a couple of links of previous tax returns were broken. It's the old broken links. Anyway, and then San Francisco reparations panel now recommending $5 million for each black resident. God damn. Where are they coming up with that money? At each black resident of San Francisco? $5 million? That's going to be a hell of a lot of money that San Francisco doesn't even have. Who's printing that money? Holy shit. They're looking into reparations, is now recommending a one-time payment of $5 million to black city residents who are deemed eligible. We have been following this story, and the number keeps going up rapidly. Several weeks ago, in December, the number was around $200,000 per resident. 2 weeks ago, the number jumped to $1 million per resident. Now it's $5 million per resident. Oh boy, I wish I had time to read that one. And then the last article here, what's this one? Oh, that's that same, the geoengineering one. So anyway, guys, I apologize. I got to go. But I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank all the people who tweeted out the show or retweeted my tweet or all that stuff. Thanks, Hig, for doing that also. Mike Savage and Scribe and all you guys who do that. I'll be back tomorrow. Oh, by the way, remind you, I have a guest coming on Tuesday. I'm going to start promoting that. Shoe for Congress, a local woman who ran for the Republican nomination for Congress, a Muslim woman who's very, very patriotic, former military personnel in the United States of America. Great lady, and I strongly recommend you come see her on Tuesday. I might have a couple guests lined up later this week and next week, too. I'm working on that. Also, just a reminder, we're coming up on the 1,000th episode of the Morning Night Live in roughly 3 weeks. This is 94. Yeah, 3 weeks from Friday, which is I believe it's the 10th of February. And so I'm going to start gearing up for that. I'm going to be putting out a lot of notices. I'm going to have a bunch of people on the show that day. I've invited quite a guest list. But also, I've asked people if they would want to do a congratulatory message via video if they want to record something and send it to me, either put it on YouTube as a unlisted video and I can just download it, or you can send it to me by email at pdognight@gmail.com. I'm going to run a little compilation video of people congratulating for the 1,000th episode, but also I have a goal for that 1,000th episode. We talked about Project 10,000, 1,000, 10,000 subs by then, and 1,000 Rumble subs. It doesn't look like that's going to happen necessarily, but I think it'd be really cool if we could get 1,000 people watching that show. Now, I'm going to have a whole bunch of guests that day. I've already invited a bunch of people, and I'm probably going to do a longer show. I'm not going to be doing my afternoon thing that Friday so that we can do a long show. I thought of doing a 1,000-minute show, but 1,000 minutes, I think 16 hours or something like that. That's a long damn time, but we'll do a long show. We're going to have a whole bunch of guests that day, and I just want everyone, if you think about it, just say, hey, coming up on the 1,000th episode, I'm going to be putting that out on messages pretty much every day until then. And so we'll see what happens. It'll be fun to do. Like I said, a lot of my former guests are coming back for that day at different times during the day. So be ready for that. So, and then, like I said, I'm going to be having a bunch of different guests over the next few weeks leading up to that 1,000th episode. So, gird your loins. Anyway, I got to go. You're the sponsor of the show. Hit the like button, share this video, stream, whatever. Put a comment in the comment section if you're watching a replay, and you can sponsor the show 24 hours a day at pdognight.live, or YouTube Super Chats, Venmo, Cash App. Thank you to our sponsors today. Tyre Alexander, Jimmy Das, Hotep, Jordan, and Maddie. Wait, was that? No, that was yesterday. What happened here? Oh, today it's Tyre Alexander, Jimmy Das, Hotep, and Maddie. Jimmy Das, Hotep, you are the Streamlabs Superstar sponsor today. Guys, gotta go. Thanks for being here. My name is P Dog Knight, and I am out of here. Bye. Have a great day. Hey, this is P Dog Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P Dog Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P Dog Knight, and I'm out of here.